Akira was directed by Katsuhiro Ôtomo and is a landmark in animation history. It's often credited as the film that made anime famous in America. As a kid at the time, I was fascinated by the aura surrounding this movie. There was so much talk about it. People would chatter about this movie all the time. Those who saw it would talk about how violent it is, how gory it is. And this film generated a mystique around it before anyone even saw it. And it's rarely that a film lives up to that hype, but Akira is one of the few that does. And recently I realized that I don't have a review for this film on my channel, which is kind of crazy. I'm always talking about this movie. I'm always referencing it. I've seen it many times, and it's fantastic. And with the release of the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray that happened recently, I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about Akira finally. For those who have not seen the film, because I'm positive that some of the people watching this video haven't, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but I will talk a little bit about plot details and perhaps go a little farther than I normally would, just as a bit of a warning. When it comes to this movie, I feel like it's important to say that it's not exactly what you think it is if you've never seen it. I think a lot of people think of Akira as a cyberpunk film that has motorbikes and a lot of gore. Yeah, all that's there. But the film is extremely psychological and very deep, and it takes a few viewings to really get everything. In fact, I've seen the film multiple times, and I do feel like I learn something new every time I watch it, because there are things that are just 100% not explained. You kind of just have to link things together in your mind. There's an explosion that happens early on in the film, and then text pops up that says that this is in 2019 after World War III. If you accept that description of the environment that you're watching, then the film will make sense. But there is a deeper meaning to that explosion at the beginning that I didn't even really catch the first few times I watched this movie, because the film is a lot smarter than you might think it is. The first few times I saw Akira, and even now, I don't really love too many of the characters. I would say it's my biggest flaw with the movie, beyond some convoluted plotting that can be very confusing. The characters aren't very memorable. They serve their purpose. Kaneda, in particular, is very brash, doesn't seem to have a lot of motivation or drive in life, and he's a bit of an asshole. Sure, the world around him has shaped him into this, but I do wish that character was more compelling. I wish that I gave a shit about him, but I don't really. Tetsuo is easily the most interesting character in the whole film. Early in the film, Tetsuo encounters a kid who looks like an old man. After a confusing explosion occurs that saves the kid's life but blows Tetsuo away, he's taken captive. And when he resurfaces, he suddenly has all these powers and abilities. Telekinesis, psychic premonitions, and they're destroying his brain. He's seeing horrific things that are right out of a David Lynch movie. Disgusting body gore and frightening imagery haunt his mind. And on the surface, it seems mostly about a kid who gains some abilities, who can't control them because he's a kid, and so power and the way you wield it, it's very dangerous. Yeah, sure, all that's part of Akira as well. But the film gets far deeper in a psychological sense, especially when it comes to the creation of things that happen near the end of the film, which I won't get into, but the movie has a lot to say, along with some of the most stunning animation ever put to screen. The hand-drawn work by these artists is iconic. The opening motorbike chase is still thrilling, but the dedication to the backgrounds as well, crowds of people filling the screen, explosions happening in the distance, and a jaw-dropping sense of scope make Akira the classic that it is. As already alluded to, the plotting can get a little confusing. There's a portion of the beginning of the second act that drags, and you don't feel like much is happening. You're sort of just understanding how this world works. You're meeting other secondary characters and kind of figuring out what they want to do with their lives. But as I already said, the characters of Akira aren't all that compelling. Tetsuo is easily the one that you're most curious about, that is going through something that's exciting and you want to know what he's going to do. But Akira is given credit for making anime famous in America and other countries outside of Japan because of how impressive everything is. This was that movie that people talked about because in America, cartoons were Bugs Bunny and Wile E. Coyote. To have a guy's guts open up and spill all over the street and a dude get shot like 100 times in animation form was very striking and disturbing the first time I saw the film, and for many people, this movie was visually arresting. There's absolutely a crowd of people who just want to watch Akira for the motorbikes and the gore, but there's a lot more under the surface. In particular, the way the people can rise up against a government when they feel that they are being treated unjustly, or when they feel that the government is keeping a lot of secrets. In this case, there's a group of people who believe that Akira is sort of like Jesus, and eventually there'll be a second coming of Akira, and when Tetsuo appears with all of these abilities, they sort of look to him and think, well, see, we were right. And you can see these people and the police and the government clashing. And over the past few years, Akira doesn't seem too much like science fiction anymore. I'm going to give Akira an A. I think if the characters were stronger and the plotting was less confusing on the first few viewings, I'd be giving this movie an A+. Like I said, if you've never seen it before, prepare to pay attention. This isn't just a movie that's like an Extreme G scene. Side point, those games were awesome. I would love another Extreme G game. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching, but I also want to give a big thank you to the sponsor for this video, Shudder. Shudder is the streaming service with the best selection of horror, thriller, and supernatural movies, series, and originals, from Hollywood favorites and cult classics to original series and critically acclaimed new genre films you won't find anywhere else. Streaming uncut and commercial-free right to your favorite devices. I've been watching Shudder forever. It's probably my favorite streaming service. Most recently, Anything for Jackson was excellent. A really, really good indie horror film. But they also have cult classics like the excellent Ginger Snaps on Shudder, which you really need to check out if you've never seen it. They have an expertly curated collection that includes titles like Color Out of Space or the Mortuary Collection. To try Shudder free for 30 days, go to shudder.com and use the promo code Chris Stuckmann. That's 30 days for free. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much to Shudder for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys for watching. As always, if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmannized.